Back in 1997, my father decided that instead of extracting water from the river, which is often lacking water, that we'd divert or create a lagoon that over the winter would collect the requirements of the farm for, at the time, 70 acres of potatoes. So enough water to supply 5 to 6 passes of irrigation at an inch across the season. So moves were made, local contractor Geddes was employed, brought in, and a clay area about a mile to the left here was used to extract all the material to seal the reservoir. The size of the reservoir is about 6.5 million gallons of capacity, and obviously during the season there's a constant flow coming in from 3 or 4 different sources. Springs further up the farm, and yeah, we've also got the ability, if we need to pump water from the river further downstream. It was quite a messy project. Obviously I think there was quite a few periods of wet weather throughout it, so it took between 2 and 3 months, and it required moving. Well, a lot of it was moved with a dozer, but there was still a lot of muck shifting, probably about 60 to 70,000 tonnes material, and
subsoil.
Well, subsoil and clay back from the borrow pit, which we were extracting it. That saved a lot of money because the cost of lining something of this scale is significant, but it's certainly a benefit because if you get a leak, it's quite stressful dealing with it.
With regards to what benefits we think we've had from having this body of water, with having now, we have 4 different growers for the potatoes and vegetable side of our rotation, and it's guarantees water supply during the summer and the spring when we're trying to irrigate the crops, and
when the river water levels are low, it takes the pressure off the river network. So,
and especially if the weather is really sunny and it's bone dry, we need to get the water on, so it reassures that water supply. It
does add a bit of beauty to the farm, I would say.
Aesthetics.
Well, we're lucky that we've got Sol who's dedicated to looking after his fish and keeping the place looking tidy.
Initially, from the first stocking, there wasn't much we needed to do. Although there was quite well-established plant life and stuff around the reservoir. We've got plenty of iris, amphibious bistort and other sedges and stuff like that round about, which is good for the wildlife. So there was already plenty of natural food in the reservoir for the young fish. We stocked small fish, roughly this sort of size. It was cheap, it was an experiment, but at this point they're up to about £13, which is sort of this size, so they're doing quite well. It's certainly an interesting project and it's very worthwhile, and look forward to it. It's in development as it is, so another couple of years, hopefully when the fish are around £20, we can get more use out of it as the fish get bigger. One of the things that we had to do, as soon as we realised that the young fish were doing well, we had to protect them from the predators that were plenty of in this area and across the country really. We've got avian predators, cormorants, herons, whatever else. There's not a lot we can do with those, but we've installed scarecrows at various points. The fish are a bit big now to worry about the sort of cormorants and herons now. Most of the fish are too big for them to eat, but otters are still a problem in this area, so we've installed an electric fence that keeps them out. Which is definitely needed, but it makes a big difference, and it's also great for some of the wildlife. The ground nesting birds love it because it makes their environment a lot safer as well, so we get a lot more young birds coming through. During irrigation, it can be quite a challenge keeping an eye on things. It certainly makes you look after every drop of water. If you see any leaks anywhere in pipes, you pull them up about it, because you know every drop counts, because it can only take so much water out. We have to leave a few feet of water left in for the fish. But it makes you really keep an eye on things. And but water quality issue can be, when the water level gets low and it heats up more, there's issues there. So we've got solar powered aeration, which makes a big difference. That helps with water quality as well as the oxygen levels. So yeah, there's plenty of little things to do, but it all adds up to create a nice environment for wildlife. And during the winter as well, we've got loads of hooper swans that sort of roost on here at night, so it's a great environment all around. In the future, it'd be great to add another reservoir which should take the pressure off this one. Obviously, this area is quite dry in the summertime, and it gives us a lot more flexibility with the water use and how we manage it.
One of the main problems we have had with it over the years is the build-up of algae on the pond, but with a bit of management, that's can be improved and controlled. Over the years, we've evolved to have quite a few more growers on the ground, and because we have irrigation, we're quite keen to grow crops that can be irrigated. Earlier sprouts, for example, spring sprouts, cabbages and stuff. So yeah, there's becoming more of a demand, and with the drier weather, apart from this year of course where it's not stopped raining, but yeah, we are going to need to probably add a bit more capacity. So yeah, we're looking at the option of adding another site just below it, which will benefit from the same feed supply. So as we say, over the winter the water is gathered, collected, and then available to use at peak summer periods. Because of our location in the river network, we're sort of at the top of the hill, as it were. It would be almost impossible to guarantee that we could pump water out of the river, the Peffer, during peak summer periods. The water availability in the Peffer has been lower and lower every year, and more local farmers too are extracting the water into lagoons. So water without the capacity to store it in the winter, there would definitely be a major issue. In fact, water wouldn't be available at all for irrigation. The only real cost is the abstraction licence. Now we've spent the money and developed it. Occasionally there's a bit of underground pipe work to be repaired and things like that. So again, it comes back to Sol being keen on protecting his fish, so a lot of the maintenance is done by him, and hopefully costs covered in the diversification of having fish in the reservoir. I think the important thing is, if you're building one, is to make sure you consider where all your existing drains are and ensure that it's sealed. If there's any risk that it's not going to be sealed, then it's definitely worth investing, putting a liner in, because that's a guarantee that it won't leak.